I thought today was a real productive day. I think a couple things with the first scrimmage of spring, and one is the competitive maturity piece, and the most pressurized, competitive spots to be your best authentic self. I think it's difficult and it takes some training to do, and I think you know I think one of the foundational things for that is that it's not defense versus offense, or it's not me versus you. It's me with you. It's me pushing you for you to get better, so that you can push me and maybe to a hard, difficult spot where I really have to excel to be able to take the next step individually and then collectively as a team. And I think I go back to last year and just we talked a fair amount about competitive maturity, but also about complementary football. And if the defense didn't start off great, offense would come and give it some juice, and defense would get going, or vice versa, just one side playing off the other side. For it to be that, we've got to build a unit-wise, do hard things, and we just don't want people getting in the way of us going in those hard spaces, doing those hard things with ego and all this other stuff. And so I thought we were able to do that really good. I think the other thing that kind of comes up with all of today is just crossing the bridge, and with our young people, with our freshmen and our sophomores and everything, and not being phased. I go back to last year, and we would practice in the indoor and practice on our grass fields there by Simpson, and do good things, and then we take it over here, get the show on the road to McLean, and it just would not be the same. And it was, bright lights and big city and all that, and there was none of that today. And so they full on attacked it. There's no pause or hesitation. So it's just way cool to see that. But with that, take any questions you guys got.
They brought the specialist out today. I guess you have to be pretty confident. So many veterans in that group.
Yeah, and their work ethic. I think they've taken an approach of always learning and always growing and really working to get better. And I think there's a healthy mindset there of being meticulous and being on point with details, but also having some compassion for the good days and the bad days, and kind of a bigger or a longer perspective than maybe just the short term, in the moment view. And so I appreciate that. I think it allows us to get better.
With Treston gone, who are you looking for in maybe being your top return guys?
Yeah, there's a few. I think I think Squirrel has some ability there. I think we've got some receivers that have got the ability to do to make some moves there. I think a lot of that's wide open. I think that's a really good. I think there's some defenders, some skilled people that want to be able to get in on that too. I think they all see the opportunity that's there, and so I think that's something that maybe we started today, and then we'll have an idea here by next scrimmage, and then hopefully by the end of spring, of kind of where that's at. But I think, I think special teams on a whole were able to manage and get people where they need to be. It was the first the second really good versus good looks we have at this point with Ronnie at the helm, and so all of it was good. I look forward to answering that question with a few other ones as well.
Dave, what are you seeing right now with the competition between Gary and Blake and Matt?
I think Gary brings a kind of a calm and a confidence. I think Blake brings some energy and some spark. I think Gary brings big playability and kind of an aura of dominance. I think Blake brings a fighter mentality and I'll show you and all that. So I think all that's back and forth. I think the last 2 days have been Blake's best days, and so I think he is he's really competed and upped his game the last 2 days. And so excited to kind of see where that goes. I think today was a good showing, I think, by both.
I think you had mentioned, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you had mentioned that you were hoping to make a decision on your starter at the end of spring. Do you still believe that idea, or is that something that's still kind of now, it could take longer?
That really hasn't changed yet. I think ideally you'd like to have that you'd like to kind of know where your team is going into summer, but if it isn't that, then that's something that you have to deal with. We had to deal with that last year, but I think we know a little bit more about the guys this time around, and so I'm hopeful with the amount of competition that we're going to put in front of them that we'll have an idea of what's what.
Coach, you talked about how impressed you were by guys, practicing over there and then coming over here and keeping that level of competition and energy. How much do you think during a regular season, having the success that you guys did and playing in big moments like the Big 12 championship game and having big moments like the Sugar Bowl helps even in the spring when it comes to creating that big game feel for even a scrimmage?
I appreciate the question. I think a lot of the guys that did some of that are gone. There's a few that are still remaining. But I think collectively, though, it's the main takeaway is that that I can believe you, that I can trust what you say, that you know what you're talking about, whether that's to a player or to a coach. And so I think that would be the main takeaway, just based upon the examples that you give. But I think a lot of it is starting, individually, because I think there can be a collective kind of in the back, kind of nod your head or kind of superficially engage, and then, it be shallow enough to where nothing really changes in terms of an inner belief or confidence. So you have to kind of get down to where the real stuff is, and whether it's a lack of confidence or whether it's it's an over amount of confidence, or whether it's what is the disconnection, or where is the truth lie at. So as opposed to, so the danger with all that is that we can go to have all these practices and try to make it look good, as opposed to really, being concerned with what really is. And I think that's easy to fall prey to. And so to really get to what it is, and where guys have to be able to be held accountable for the energy that they bring, or the lack of communication that they bring, or here's someone doing the right things and rewarding that those things day after day, right, in hard spots, create the ability to do the things that you mentioned. And so I would look at it as starting all over, and saying, hey, we do have an idea of what we're saying, but we've got to start it over with this group and really work the beliefs of this crew. Because I think you get a lot of nodding heads a lot of times, which doesn't mean a whole lot.
Maybe today's response answers it the way that they brought it over here, but how do you feel about 2 weeks in with 3 weeks to go in spring?
Good. Today was a big day, because I think, I go, the lifting weights and our meetings and spring up to this point, all of it's really been good, but it's kind of been, the tests that we put ahead of them, they've all kind of knocked it out, and really haven't really been staggered in knocking it out. And I think today was, so when it's like that, you kind of are, where are things at? And a lot of questions were answered today. I think in terms of the biggest thing to me is are people taking care of other people and not making it a me and you thing. And that really allowed some other guys to have to dig deep. There's a bunch of deep breaths and wanting to put hands on hips, and then seeing a coach and then not doing it. So all that is way good to get into, right? When it's a 3rd and 2 or it's a 4th and 1, and that's training. That's a rep, and so appreciative of that.
Yeah, Coach, how's Jackson Player fit in?
He's been very impressive. I think Jackson's been. I think the amount of technique and the kind of the detail and the accountability within the defense I think has been there's been an adjustment period for him. I think school and kind of the accountability all there with that has been an adjustment period for him. And so I think anytime you have change, I mean, change is difficult, and so there's been some of that. But I think he, to his credit, he has taken accountability for things and learned and has grown from the beginning, just a couple months ago to where he is now, and I think he's one of our best D linemen, and I would say at this point, post first scrimmage, some of the best performers. I think he would be at the top, if not the top of that list.
Dave, who would you say are maybe one or two position groups that really stood out to you today?
I think, I'd say O-line, D-line just as a collective one, and you would hope that with some of the people coming back. But I think, there was good line of scrimmage discipline. I think there was good, start, as well as, I'm going to throw the first punch. I'm going to set the tempo for this. And then there was a finish, I felt, at the end when, we've got someone staggered. Can we get them? Can we knock them down? And I thought there was the kind of awareness of that and the appreciation of that. So that was good. And then the second, the other position group I would say would be the receivers. I thought they did a really good job blocking. I thought you didn't see a bunch of drop passes. You saw runs after the catch. A lot of these are young guys, and so I credit Dallas Baker and the work he's doing, and Sean and Jeff, and it's exciting to see. We'll see where it goes.
Coach, when you have a quarterback competition, where's the happy medium between, hey guys, still learn from each other and talk to each other and help each other versus focus on you and go win that job and be the guy who can be the number one?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think a lot of that has to come from the position coach. I think Sean does a great job with that in terms of building community and building a sense of belonging. I think that you are more than just your performance. So I think that's kind of foundational to that, to what you're talking about. But then I think the other piece too would be, really being specific on people's strengths and weaknesses, and giving really honest feedback. And so there's no barriers. I think so much of the time between coaches and players is coaches say this and players hear that. Whether it's they hear what they want to hear, or they're inferring because there's a lack of trust, or just to be real clear with your communication on terms of, hey, this is where it's at. This is what I need to see. This is what you're doing. I think when there's a belief that is happening, then you can feel like I'm part of, and you can start to enjoy the moment and really be present in your snaps, but also be present in the others and cheer those guys on. And so we're getting that. It's been impressive to see.
What did you think about Pro Day on Wednesday? Just the amount of teams that were out here and all the prospects you guys have.
Yeah, I was impressed by it. The previous Pro Day, I remember being off the side with Terrell and Petey saying, this is, you see where it's at now, right? We can take it further than this, and I give credit to those guys and all the rest of them, for doing that. I think, we had all the teams here. There's a bunch of scouts that came by and said that, David, we had never seen like a whole team come out and cheer on the guys that were going through it, And so they said, I think about 6 or 7 scouts came and said that I think they said maybe Cincinnati was like that, but that was the only one. And so, we had we had to make sure that they weren't skipping school to do that. But we had a lot of guys there, man, and it was cheering and chanting and all that, and so it was pretty cool. I thought, the guys, but I mean that's how it's been the whole time, though. And so it was cool that at the end of it, it was the same as it ever was.
Isaiah, what's the competition like out there among the kickers?
I think it's a pretty good competition. I think it's good competition, though. It's not a hostile environment between us. We all love each other, and we're just trying to make each other better.
How much do you build off of last year, what you were able to do as kind of a freshman that kind of came out of the blue, really?
Building off of last year, it's just kind of finding more of a rhythm. A lot about last year, since I was like pretty new and kind of jumped into everything pretty fast. Like now I'm able to look back and see what I did wrong and kind of just perfect my craft, if that makes sense.
Mechanically, anything that you've done from watching what you did last year to what you're going to work on this year, like with your leg swing or your drive or your hips or your plant foot or anything like that?
There's a whole lot of parts about my steps that were inconsistent last semester during the season, and so I just say that I'm just trying to kind of break it down and look at the mechanics of how I can make it more consistent and more reliable, so it'll be the same every time.
How much in the spring do you focus on being more consistent inside the 40, inside the 30, and in that range versus trying to also increase your range, so you're consistent and they can rely on you from 50 beyond?
Yeah. So the way I see it is by the time season comes, you should have everything perfected. But after season, that's a time for me to break everything down, and I'll get worse before I get better. And so I'd say I've gotten worse before I get better because I'm breaking down kind of what's happening, changing the form and everything. And so range, that'll come back. I'm not worried about that right now. All I'm worried about right now is technique, and by the time season comes, then we can start worrying about those types of things.
Is there a point where you hope to, I guess, perfect the technique where you won't have to break it down season by season, or is that just a natural thing that you're going to have to do, whether you go 20 for 20 or you go 10 for 20?
I think at a certain point, it's not as much of like, I mean, you always are going to have to break it down. Not necessarily saying that you're doing everything wrong, though, if that makes sense. So, like, I don't know, it's kind of, right now, I wouldn't say I have everything, like, perfected, and it's like I'm still learning as I go on, like, what the right form is, what I should be doing here, like, follow through, what that should look like. And at a certain point, like, NFL guys, I'm sure they do the same thing. Like, you're never going to be completely perfect every time. You can always perfect something, you know.
Isaac, obviously you opted to come back. You could have gone. What made you, or what went into your process of deciding to come back?
Well, I'm engaged, so my fiance is finishing up her school here, and obviously love the team, love Baylor, everything about this place. So I get to be with my fiance a little bit longer, then we'll get married, then we'll be here, we'll be a happy Baylor family. So I guess everything was like, hey, come back, why not? Good time.
Have you already graduated then?
Yes, I graduated in December with my undergrad in business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you at now? Are you graduate school or something?
Yes, I'm doing my grad school in sports management, so
Okay.
I made a business decision with my business degree.
Okay. Obviously, you've punted here a long time. You know, what kind of confidence does that give you? I mean, you know, you're a veteran and all that.
Yeah, well, it has been a long time. I guess you do the same thing over and over again. You hope to get better at it, so I'm feeling I'm getting better at it. And yeah, I don't know, I just love coming out here and love this place and this stadium. It's got a great feel to it, and just being able to just come here every year. I kind of wish I had a 6th year, but I don't, so I have to make the most of it this year.
You were pretty consistent last year, though, amongst all of your seasons. What do you think went into that? Because it seemed like maybe the most impressive thing was your hang time on here.
I just got so worried about making every punch so perfect. You know, you worry about perfection, and then you're like, I have to get perfection. And if it's not the best ball that this place has ever seen, it's not good enough. So once I got away from that and just like, hey, just punt it, live with it, I got just so much more comfortable back there and just punting.
Anything that you're working on specifically with your mechanics, getting ready for through spring and then getting ready for fall?
Coach Aranda is kind of giving everyone an assignment being like a pro mindset. So I guess my pro mindset is just being more mentally engaged and having more mental wins rather than physical wins. Like, if I have a bad punt, did I win that rep mentally and understand what I did wrong rather than, hey, it went bad. What did I do physically that was bad?
How different is spring for you when you know it's your last spring?
It feels like it gets hotter every year. That's one thing. I don't know, make the most of it. You learn what to enjoy from every time you go back. And so now I'm just like making the most of hanging out with these guys for one last time and just enjoying every relationship I have and making it the most fun I've had.
How much different has special teams been without Coach Pallett's first week coming in? Like what changes have you seen from last year?
So Coach Bausch is a very special human being. He's a great man. He has a great place in my heart, and I love him, and I miss him dearly. But Coach Wheat has already made like a big impact in us, and his first step here of engaging with all the specialists. He understands like we've had a few different special teams coordinators here now over my time here. It's my third different one. And he's already done a great job of just being personable with us and telling us, hey, this is what we got, this is what we're going to do. You guys can do this at a very high level. So let me be a helper rather than a coach per se, and let me just put you in the best position to succeed.
An area that's so based on, having technique and form and having that many voices, how have you perfected something that you like while getting different input on something that I guess one guy could like one thing and one guy could like another?
I don't like to think I'm perfect just yet. Obviously, you go for perfection, and that's the goal of everything. But you just make little strides every day to just be better at one thing, like what's something I can always improve. And that's what I've worked on a lot, is finding some way to always improve on and always move forward with, because you want to be perfect, but nobody's perfect yet. So,
Isaac, you've been part of 2 Sugar Bowl teams, but what was last year like? This Big 12 championship, Sugar Bowl win, what was all that like for you?
That's a big question.
Sorry.
Well, I would say it's more of I've seen the team grow.
Yeah.
And I guess as you're around a place so long, you see the culture change and the team grow. And this culture with Aranda is the most brotherhood I've seen out of everywhere. And so that win against Big 12, as Jaron McVay made that amazing tackle, I saw so many guys cry, not to call anyone out, but a lot of dudes were crying that day. But it just felt so much more like more than a game and more than a win. It was like we achieved success, and that was just the best feeling ever, except from being engaged to my fiance.
Second.
Yeah, second most important.
What do you what do you tell the young guys that are coming in behind you? What's the first advice you give them when they come in?
Relax. It's April 2nd. Yeah, it's April 2nd today. It's not September 3rd. We're not playing in front of a big crowd. It's April 2nd. This is spring scrimmage number 1. Relax. It's just a kick. It doesn't matter yet.
You're a veteran, been there a long time.
Yeah.
Does that add any responsibility to what you do?
I think it does.
Count on you.
Yeah, because I think just got to rely on myself to take care of the younger guys, kind of build them up, get to kind of the maturity level we are now, and kind of let them know how things run, how we do stuff. And so it's kind of trying to take them under our wings, all the older guys, and just help them kind of get situated with college, how it works, and just try to help them have the best possible time here while we're here.
Noah, your job's obviously kickoff, but how much do you spend on preparing? Because, you're kind of the backup for everything else.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend on those other things?
Well, I'm trying not to be the backup in some of those
Okay.
things. So,
You're competing.
So try to put a lot of effort into it. So basically warm up, field goal every single day, hit field goals every single day, and then whenever we have punt, work with Isaac. He's helped me a lot trying to improve that craft area, because that's something I need to improve on as well. And so it just depends on what we have for that day. I know we basically do field goals every day, so I'll hit field goals every single day, and then we have either punt or kickoff. And so I either warm up with either of those and work with either Isaac on punt, or go to the indoor or anything by myself and work on kickoff and whatever we have for that day for practice.
Have you gotten a lot better since last year, or how much have you improved from a year ago?
I feel like I've improved a ton, especially with punt and field goal. Focused a lot on just consistency, because that's my biggest downfall. And so just staying a lot, not trying to kill every single ball, because I know I have the leg to hit a long field goal. So it's just focusing on the little details of having my plant foot in the right spot, swinging the right way, having correct ball contact. And the punt, it's just working on the drop, working on staying shorter, and just hitting kind of like the B ball every single time. It doesn't have to be perfect, don't have to hit the A ball. It just has to go 40 yards, 4-0. And so just finding that happy medium where you don't need to crush it. You just got to get clean contact and the ball will fly.
What has Coach Wee brought into this group of specialists? What does he kind of bring to the table?
I think it's kind of like what Isaac said. He's been a lot personable and everything, and so he's kind of let us do what we do best. And so he knows that we had some good success last year, and so he's saying, like, he's telling us what we have and just letting us do what we do best. And I think that's really beneficial for us because it just kind of lets us relax and just do what we do. And so we know that not everything is going to be perfect. So if we have a mishap, that we can just go to the next one, refocus on what we do best, and just hit our best ball.
Is he hands-on with y'all at all, or is it kind of more of a I trust you, y'all go do your own thing?
I think he trusts us to do what we do, and so I think that's nice because I know sometimes we can kind of jack around and everything and get unfocused and everything, but I think we've been good at, especially being here for so long, knowing when to do, like what to do and when to do it is good. So it's just kind of having that happy medium of when to like kind of goof off a little bit and when to kind of refocus and settle in and do what we do.
Is there a different feeling when you practice here at McLean?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's always good to get in here because I mean it's where we play games, and so it's kind of get that atmosphere of, hey, get a little bit more energy and everything, and so it's just kind of fun because then we get the young guys and everything, and it's their first time here. They never really practiced in here, so it's always a fun feeling to get back in here.